lady first. There she is.
Okay, all right.
There she is. All right. So we have got Felix on the podcast today. I'm really, really excited to have him on. Obviously, we came into contact for a beautiful synchronicity that we'll get into. Actually, Felix, let me just say thank you for your time and your energy coming on here first. We're just having a chat off camera, and I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. So yeah, without further ado, thank you for your time. And I'd love just like if you've done, if you have like a 30-second little bit about yourself, just so people know who you are as a little intro, that'd be a beautiful place to start.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Felix. I am sending this out right now. I'm in Barbados. I've been living here for 8 months. I was born in London, in England. Grew up in South London. I'm an artist. I like to paint and draw, make music. I'm putting all the things together that I've learned over the years and creating something called mixed spiritual arts. That's what I'm sharing with the world now through my artwork and through leading sessions, ceremonies and classes, training. And yeah, here I am. Hello.
Beautiful. And I think like one of the things that I just found so cool straight away was the term, I don't know if this is what you've created, but at least what you go by, mixed spiritual arts, right? That was just like, yes, like that is, for somebody who's like into both of those things, I was like, oh my God, yes, like let's find out more about that. Like, how do you, like to you, like what does that mean, like mixed spiritual arts?
Okay, cool, man, thanks. Yeah, so for me, it was a way of phrasing, describing my offer, what I was bringing to the world. For a long time, I called what I did yoga classes, being a yoga teacher, and that was a big foundation of my the Indian traditions. I started with yoga and went to India and stayed in India and was really, really fascinated with all of those teachings. And then a few years later, I dived into the shamanic world, which had always been interested, but I dived into ayahuasca and South American traditions and went and stayed in Peru and Brazil and traveled around South America a lot. And then I came back to England, and then I was kind of cosmically thrown into the deep end of martial arts and jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts and Muay Thai and calisthenics and weights and gyms and a kind of different end of the spectrum than what I'd been living in before. So between that range of experiences, the way I would lead stuff developed as well, and became more of a combination of all of them. But whilst I was still using the name yoga as a name to call it, and to be honest, what really stimulated me to seek a new name was my own personal change in lifestyle. From where I'd been vegetarian and vegan for a long time, and really within the tradition of yoga, when I began doing martial arts, calisthenics, weightlifting, that year I took a U-turn on that and began to eat animal products, eat meat, and train in different ways. And I was surrounding myself in these different environments, but while still teaching yoga. But it came to a point where I felt like I wanted to, out of respect for the tradition and the way, the path of yoga, that for me, a large part of that is vegetarianism and veganism. I thought, let me take a step back from branding myself as that, because right now I don't feel like that's my path right now. I'm on a different path, and here 16, 18 years later from beginning yoga, I can see how different sections of my life I've been studying different archetypes, and I was much more living and training in the warrior archetype. And for me, my diet changed, and I needed to make a change to what I was offering, the way I was offering to the world. So I did a lot of brainstorming and trying out different names to do with spirituality, to do with arts, to do with yoga, to do with shamanic yoga, to do with union, world union, and I would like play with a lot of different names. But when something I had this kind of penny drop moment, like clicked when I was like spiritual arts, it just made sense for me. And for me, it like gave me license I gave myself permission to be able to share whatever I wanted, because it was something new. It didn't already have a lot of other people's opinions about how something should be, which I very much kind of was experiencing with yoga, and also kind of to distance myself, to be honest, from the yoga scene that I was part of in London, and I was at some points very much part of, and then at some point I realized that I wanted to step away from and be myself, be something new, because I saw a lot of people using the words in a very with a very casual association, like in lots of new modern ways, and it's kind of becoming this hashtag, like almost like this hashtag, you know, like, oh, this yoga, like runners yoga, fitness yoga, this something yoga, and even me, like shamanic yoga. I was like, okay, but hold on, like, really, why am I using this word? Because I love, as much as I've loved yoga and had my own deep experience and journey with it, what I'm doing now is a combination of all these other things from all these other continents, and me finding that name and switching to that name felt like a big shift and a big change, and I felt like I can say confidently that, like, what I'm doing, like why I'm sharing it, what I'm sharing it. It's sources from yoga, it's sources from kung fu, qigong, tai chi, capoeira, jiu-jitsu, meditation, Buddhism, shamanism, paganism, from Stonehenge, from North America, from the teepees, from all this whole combination of things that I've learned over the years, and it just felt like a much more honest way of sharing it, and also not and being free from this like ethical kind of a bit of a minefield, really, like my own personal journey with vegetarianism, veganism, that I was at points heavily into and heavily like associated with, and then at points being drawn away from, life taking me away from it, and being on the other side of this, you know, this line of this ethical line. So yeah, it was like me, but it was like out of respect for yoga as well, not to just say, oh, this is my yoga, because it really had become something different. But that did use yoga, but it was like a real combination of a lot of things. So yeah, that was like 2014, 15. Yeah, I began using that as my brand, you know. Urban avatars. Urban avatars, mixed spiritual arts. UAMSA, UMSA. So it's like a combination of like Om and Us. If you have understanding of martial arts, the word Us is like used out of respect. It can be used in lots of different ways in a setting, in the dojo and stuff. So it was like, yeah, me making this new word of a combination of both of them as well.
I did not know that you mixed those two words together as well, like that. I love it, because I did martial arts for like up to black belt when I was younger, and then different stuff, and it was, you know, us obviously sign of respect essentially, but I did not realize that until you put that together. And I think it's interesting, and I guess that, because that's something I've noticed as well, like words carry frequencies, right? Like the word yoga, when somebody says yoga, that carries certain connotations to somebody, where they have a certain picture in their head of what yoga is and what somebody does yoga and who they are. And it's amazing, and it can be limiting at the same time. And this is something I've been learning myself, with saying like, oh, like, you are spiritual. It's like, well, okay, what does that really mean? You know? And I feel like, to take a really simple example, if somebody says like, what do you eat? I just say whatever I feel like eating, you know, like on the given day. Now, what do I eat? Mostly vegetarian with some fish, right, is what I eat. And you could call that a certain thing. However, that might change tomorrow, you know, and I'm open to that changing tomorrow. And I think that's the beauty of not being confined by one thing, still having deep, you know, integrity and respect to those arts and those traditions, however, not being bound by them. And I was even having a chat with my good friend Shahami, who's a yoga teacher, recently, and even like the word namaste, you know, she had some things that kind of pissed her off about how people use that nowadays, you know, like the hashtags and the memes and stuff like that. And yeah, it is an interesting time with that. So yeah, thank you for explaining like where it comes from. And like, still, it is just the coolest name I've ever come across. So like, and you said it was like a penny drop moment, right? So it was like, it just like your, just in a moment, like your intuition, it just kind of came into your head, or like, how did that come about? And the reason I ask is because I find these moments so interesting to look back at, like, where did that thought originate from, and what was the like moment that, you know, that shifted into that, if you can recall?
I think for me it was when I'm looking for something, or when I'm looking for a name of something, I will go into like a phase of brainstorming and writing down hundreds and hundreds of names. So I wrote down hundreds of variations of avatar yoga, avatar arts, urban avatar arts, urban avatar spiritual arts. And I would just write down these different combinations, like again and again and again and again and again. And yeah, just I think at some point it just clicked. It was what I've been doing, the training of mixed martial arts. I've been training with my coach, these guys, this gym that I joined there, where they do mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, MMA, okay, MSA. Yeah, it just came together at the right point. But it took I hunted it as well, you know. I put myself in that zone of searching for something, of try and error, trying stuff out, like keep on like throwing up, so like throwing up ideas, throwing up different names, spinning different names around. I've got like a sketchbook from that year or something where I just literally wrote like loads and loads and loads of different names and different combinations of the same thing, until like, oh yeah, and then that can be like that could be okay, like it just felt right. And I mean, but as you say, even the word spiritual has its massive range of how people can understand it. So words in themselves have their own limitations. But I felt more comfortable with, you know, facing the challenges of the word spiritual than the word yoga. You know, because what you said as well about that, that's what I kept on experiencing, was people would say, oh, what do you know, oh, you do yoga, or yoga teacher. Oh yeah, and then it was like, as soon as, you know, kind of meet someone and they ask, and then if I would say that I taught yoga, it was like, as soon as I said that, I kept on getting this like feeling that they put me in a box. They're like, oh yeah, you teach yoga. All right, yeah, cool. I know what that is.
Yeah.
And then I felt that what I was being associated with was this current scene in London that was yoga. So in your gym, you've got the class or the studios and the way people were teaching it. And what I wanted to, what my own personal interest in, like the yoga side, was like a very much more alternative, like esoteric, ancient, mystic way of the yoga, rather than the modern day setting. Which, as much as I've had a lot of benefit in that setting as well, I just found, yeah, it like not giving that thing. I'm not saying yoga teacher, instead of saying like mixed spiritual arts, it was like, oh, people like, it was the reaction from people was a lot more curious and open. They gave me like a chance to like redefine it rather than like straight, oh, yoga teacher, yeah, okay, I know what this is. It was like mixed spiritual arts, like, ooh, like what's that? Like it was this like curiosity in which I had another new opportunity to describe it like each time.
Yeah, yeah, I totally feel that. Like if I'm explaining something I've done, it could be like ceremonial, for example, and oftentimes it can be difficult to put. Well, it's very difficult to put words to certain things that can happen during ceremonies, right? And I can see, like, as soon as I use certain words, it's like the glaze comes over the eyes, and it's like whatever you're saying, they've already decided in your head that it's about that thing. Whereas by instead having that frequency of, like you said, curiosity, it's so opening, and like that's exactly what I experienced as well when I saw it. I was like, like, damn, that seems interesting. Like, what's that about? And then it's like, cool, I'm going into a new thing, right? It's like something I don't have any judgments on issues.
That's the intention, yeah. And to include art as well, art and painting, which is really like what I actually feel I'm here for, the paint.
Interesting. Okay, so you feel like art is you say it's like obviously they're all different, right? But you feel like that's a big calling for you, like a big part of your, like, your soul's journey, or however you do it.
Yeah. For me personally, that's how I deepest. But it's the most true version, because I'm aware. It's as well. It's a liberation for myself to position myself, to present myself to you, to the world, as an artist. I feel it's more humble in a way, but it's also more authentic, because our understanding of an artist in the society is different than understanding what a spiritual teacher is. And there's a lot of the same catches and hang-ups with being a spiritual teacher or a guru, and a lot of like the paradoxes and hypocrisies or something of being a spiritual guru or a teacher. Because I know personally like how much within myself is in alignment with that, and how much of it isn't in alignment with that, like my own understanding of myself. It's like trying to be intelligent with how I present myself to the world, to line up with, like I'm not to not try and sell myself as a guru, as a perfectly enlightened being. That in a way, being a spiritual teacher or being a guru perhaps does. And therein you begin to go into the world of gurus and people who present themselves as perfect and knowing all the answers. It gets tricky. It can get very, very tricky, So I'm more like, okay, well, I'm not even going to say from the beginning, I'm not a guru, but I'm an artist. That's the most true. That's the most true version that I can say to you. I'll start with the truth. So if you're like, just say you're an artist, you can't really get caught out.
Yeah.
If you say there's no like rules to being an artist, you know what I mean? Whereas like with yoga teacher, it's like, I'm a yoga teacher, but I eat meat. What, you eat meat? You can't be a yoga teacher. Like, and yeah, that's fine. Can I drink and have a beer sometimes? And sometimes I'll do all this. It's like, what? You can't do that. That's not. I've got a vision of you as a yoga teacher, as a guru. You're supposed to be. It's like, whoa, like. Because I found myself in that, when I was a yoga teacher and in these ethical like zones. And then if I did something that wasn't in alignment, it was like, I have an internal conflict. So, after some amount of time and phases and life experience, I thought, hold on, let me just I'm an artist. That way, I'm telling you the truth from the start. You can't catch me out. I can't get caught out. And the funny, our society's understanding of artists is very interesting. I got like a whole spiel about art and the position of the artist in our society now.
I'd love to hear that. And it's funny because recently, I think it was like my teacher Alex said this to me. He was So he, you could call him a spiritual teacher, doesn't describe himself as that though. And he just said, look, right now I'm an artist who chooses to express themselves through entrepreneurship, because that's what he was doing at the moment.
Through what, sorry?
He said, look, right now I'm an artist who chooses to express themselves through entrepreneurship or through
entrepreneurship,
or through teaching or through art, right? Or whatever it is. And to me, it's just so much more resonant, right? Because in a way, like I'm sure you'll have thoughts on this, like we can choose, the way we choose to identify does really impact what we actually do. Because you can say, oh, I am a yoga teacher, I am a business owner, but that in itself is quite limiting, right? And I'd love to hear like your thoughts on being, an artist and how you view that and what your experience has been with that.
Yeah. Yes. Make me think like, no, you're right on the point, really. There's something, there's an artist called Grayson Perry. I don't know if you know about him. He's like a British artist, but he said something recently. I read something recently. He's saying that nowadays the top artists are business people, are highly organized international businessmen or women. Now so it's a big part of it. It's interesting, yeah. I mean, and we can wear many hats. We can be many things. We can define ourselves. I just find artists as like a really broad description. Because part of it is business, and this is where I'm at this. I'm fully involved right now as I speak with this, with embodying that within myself as well, embodying being a businessman as well, because I want to be successful with my art, and part of that is business. So rather than like the Van Gogh, like the archetype of Van Gogh, who who now is, this worldwide artist for millions and millions of pounds, but at the time there's like a different archetype, right?
Yeah.
Like the crazy struggling artist who never sells any work, but is so involved and it embodies their work, right? That they may, they kill themselves, or they have all this suffering and angst, and that's something I want to distance myself from, and evolve that, evolve what I'm doing, because I do have that within myself as well, that archetype of fuck everything, and not wanting to engage it in any way with any sort of linear mindset, and be like that, just be completely immersed in my world of art, right? But here I am, and I've got a foot in both worlds, basically. It's a funny one, because just to really go in, to go into this zone, where I'm just, it's like being a kid, it's like it's the best place when I completely lose myself, lose my mind, and just let it completely flow. I find it, one thing I find very interesting is the similarity between the word artist and autist, being artistic and autistic. Even just the sound of the word is so similar, and there's the aspects of autism is that some of these people who we label as autists are completely within their world, that they don't even take a step out at all. They basically often have very, very different interaction with the external world, with life responsibilities, and the kind of adult stuff that normal people have to face and balance and deal with. But when in their space, they're completely in the world. And there's a part of me that likes to go there and be like that. But at the same time, I have to find the balance and bring myself back to bring to the other side, like the other side of the brain. That's me calculating. Okay, cool. And now, how am I gonna interact with the world through relationships, through networks, through communication with other people to share this thing that I've brought from this other space of my mind. And that takes the other side of the brain. That takes linear thought. That takes sitting down and writing an email or responding to an email and having a kind of calculating mind about, okay, where am I going to position myself in the world with this thing that I've made. I've made a painting. I've done something. I want to bring it to somebody. You know, I want to share it with someone. And you know, I'm ambitious. I have worldwide visions. That takes the completely other side of the mind. That takes like the business mind. So, like I'm saying that the quote, like he's saying they're international businessmen, and he is, you know, he's very, very, very successful and has worked in exhibitions all around the world and stuff. And it's a you know, I'm in a work in progress. I'm not a you know, not the completed model of this new archetype at all, but I'm that's where kind of where I'm at right now. You know, I'm bringing these two together, because I do have it within me. You know, I have in my ancestry both sides. You know, I have one. You know, one of my grandfathers was a complete businessman, and he was an entrepreneur, and he was an inventor, and he invented stuff, and he set up companies and factories, and had a lot of people working for him and building stuff. And you know, it was like, but he was very much like within that set. And on the other side, my other granddad was a painter. Wow. And then he just wanted to paint, and then he had 4 kids, and when he was 20, so he had to do something. So he got a job as an art teacher. So he was teaching art, but he was always kind of at odds with the world in a way, and never really mastered any of the business side of it. But like his artistry, he was like fully embodied in the artistry. You know, like all his waking time, his spare moment was in his studio making, painting. So between the two, I'm like just some kind of like ancestral healing where, you know, like bring the success to my artist grandfather, but bring the creativity to the business. The one, my business grandfather, who was successful business wise, but depressed, you know, emotionally, spiritually, disconnected. You know, there's a whole other story there, but here I am now, 2021, and we're going for both. We're going for the synergy. We're going for the best of all of it.
And that's the fun of it, right? Like once you like get to the proverbial end, wherever that is, like you're kind of like, well, what's next anyway, right? So that's the whole fun of it. And you said you touched on both your granddads there, and it's really interesting to see how you have, you know, you're embodying your lineage. How important do you think that is to just generally for people to actually embody their ancestry, whether that's their ancestry that they've met or you're going to, you know, past or future timelines? Like how important is that to you to take those kind of things into account?
Yeah, I think it is. What I'm learning now is very, very powerful to do it, and I'm also understanding how disempowering it can be to not have that, whether or not we're consciously aware of it. So to become conscious of it is real opportunity to tap into enormous power. And it's something that, to be honest, I have for a long time, most of my life, not consciously known, not consciously been tapping into. Mm. But last year, my granddad, my artistic granddad, I described, he passed away last year, nearly a year ago, just over a year ago, and his passing was also synchronistically like a massive shift for myself in my own artistry and creativity, and it really revealed to me how connected we've been, and how especially because his last year, couple of years, and last year there was a lot of tension and not ease, you know, difficulty, you know, struggle, discomfort. in his last year, and within myself as well. Like within my own creativity, also went through a real state of struggle and discomfort. And literally the week he passed was like, like this rainbow super explosion like flowing through me, you know. And I felt like, like his spirit like flying, like leaving this like prison of like this really like uncomfortable body that he'd been inhabiting, and being on the other side of that, and wow, you know, doing his whole release and his transformation, like was this big awakening within myself as well. Big relief and evolution within my own painting. So it really was like, wow, like it really made me like realize how powerful it is. That I wasn't consciously aware of it before. My other granddad passed on when I was about 3 years old or so. So that was never quite so clear to me. However, my aunt, his daughter, he was a big part of my life spiritually as well. She passed this year, and her passing was in the similar way that my granddad's was like an enlightenment artistically. Her passing was like a big shift in a different way, spiritually as well, like psychically and just like kind of this other side of my ancestry that I guess was channeling through her, you know, like family baggage, like being released, and like enlightening, like a lot less like weight on the family, because she had a lot of heaviness as well. There was a lot of heaviness within her that I felt be relieved when she passed as well. So yeah, I wasn't you know, it's a really good question, thank you, but I wasn't conscious of it before, because you become accustomed to the weight that you carry.
Yeah,
right. It's like carrying around these bags, but if you've been carrying them since you were born, like, and you know, like you're just like used to the weight. It's only when you actually like let go of them, you're like, whoa, like now I've got to weigh there's loads.
yeah.
And the funny thing is, on the other side of it though, it's just like deeper into gratitude for everything. So like gratitude for the weight, because it made me fucking strong. Like, carrying weights make you strong.
Yeah.
Carrying the weights make you strong, you know, and like carrying the weight of that, like that kind of ancestral baggage on that side and ancestral baggage on that side, when they actually release, like, whoa, now I'm really strong and I have way less to carry. So everything's perfect.
I hope if you haven't already, I hope you make that into some kind of post, or that's got to be a piece of good, that's an amazing message. You know, I've never thought about it in that way, actually, to have, you know, like, it's like if you shift out of a program or a limiting belief, and, you know, I've said, you know, okay, I've carried this and I've shifted a lot in the last like 7-8 months. And it's been really important for me to have gratitude for that belief, because it's protected me until now in some egoic fashion, right?
Right.
So to not be like, oh, you know, get that away from me, like I'm better now. It's different energy, right? Approaching it with gratitude. Yeah. But the way you just explained it in terms of physical, you know, the physical people around you is, for me, that's really actually quite inspiring, because I've never thought about it that way, because it is a physical way, isn't it? That density that you're carrying is a physical way, and it makes you strong. I've never thought about it that way, man. That's a really good point. So what was how did moving from London to Barbados come about?
Man, I've been trying to leave London from 2009, yeah? in 2008, I was at this art school in London, and I went to India for a month in the Christmas break, yeah? And that's the first time I really experienced nature, like the power of nature. I was staying at this place, beautiful place by the beach in India. And it was like the first time I arrived at this place like at night, and then went, hey, oh, and then I think I saw the full moon. I'm swimming in the sea under the full moon. It was the first time I'd ever experienced moonlight. I was like 24. Like because there's no lights, there's no street lights, and the moon is like everything's lit up, and I'm like, this is moonlight. This is what I've read about it in like books, like I remember reading like Huckleberry Finn and they're like talking about moonlight, and I was like, how can they see at night? Like it's dark. The goddess has arrived to walk you through. It's been something to interrupt. But yeah, it was this initiation into nature, basically, that awakened something, reawakened this part of my spirit that just from that moment really felt that I needed it. I really needed that in my life, and that had been really missing, like within my life. But to be surrounded by those kind of sounds and not that kind of air and that kind of environment, so it was the beginning of a big revelation within my own life about how I wanted to live, where I wanted to position myself. And because I've been really, really in the city and in the urban environment, and also like looking into a lot of like urban stuff as well, and then culture. And when I came back from this beautiful beach place I'd lived in for a month and came back to London, it was like, oh my. I was like, fuck this! Like I need to get out of here. Like, so that was the beginning. And then that year, 2009, that's when I've had like the first ayahuasca ceremony, and then started meeting people in that world. And it was like all these eye-opening kind of like second awakening that and I was like, okay, I want to live like this. I want to live in nature. I want to live in a completely different way than this like urban and than the urban intensity. So I began looking for ways to get out, like to get out of the system, and a lot happened very fast, especially with the ayahuasca ceremonies and people I was meeting, and I was meeting all these new people, and they were like, yeah, wow, you're amazing, come do your art here. And it was like, wow, ding ding ding. And then it kind of like this whole summer of like this roller coaster summer of all these new people and these new worlds, and that everything was possible. And I mean, I even had I was like, right, it's going to happen. We're going to go for it. I'm going to get to Brazil now with this new contact, with this art thing. The art's going to bang like right now. And then, right, I'm going to go to Brazil, buy land, start building the place like right now. And I had like a leaving party in my mum's house, all my friends, and like, it was like, right, guys, I'm going away forever. I'll see you later. I'm going to go live in the jungle, live in the forest forever. I'm going to build a treehouse community, and everyone come to Brazil. And also kind of on like a bit of a like apocalypse vibe as well. We're kind of like we got to get out of the system. Like this shit's going to go down. We got to this is like survival mode, like all this pre-2012 stuff had like woken up on me. I was like, whoa, we gotta get off grid like as soon as possible. So I had this big whole thing, and then man, like the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations of this whole journey ended up being back in London like a month later. Like it was like, all right, back to the drawing board. Had to start again, had to try out different stuff, a lot of trials and errors. So but especially like 2010, man, I went Peru, and I did that was still to this day like my deepest experiences with the ayahuasca, like doing many in a row and just staying in this one space, no other distractions. We did like 13 in a month ceremonies, and like 5 in a row, and then 4 in a row, and then like every night going deeper and deeper and deeper. Man, I received a lot of visions and a lot of apocalyptic visions, a lot of like real freaking scary shit, floods, systems as we know it, cities like completely changing and stuff. And I was like fired up to get the fuck out. of it, right? And then, but while still being dependent on it for money, for work, for networking, you know. So I'd have to like come back to London, come back to UK, go into like a new phase of work, make more money, then like kind of get out of it again, go to Brazil, like for, you know, went there again 7 months and stuff. And this was like 2010, 11, 2012, you know, like there was like this big collective consciousness about 2012 being like the end of the world, right, at that time. And man, I was so much within, especially within the psychedelic experiences, I was, you know, soaring through all these. So I was very much in the astral, a lot of these experiences, and it was almost, it was occurring to me as a very real opportunity that some crazy shit is going to go down in 2012, either like physically or literally, that the whole fabric of reality could just literally like pop, and I'd just wake up in a completely different dimension. That was like, okay, that's a very, very realistic opportunity. Because you know, the way I was having these experiences where everything, you know, like being able to disconnect from the matrix, everything melt away, and then reappear. I was like, whoa, okay. So either aliens are going to land, or there's going to be an atomic bomb, or there's going to be an asteroid, or the ice cap's going to melt and there's going to be tsunamis all over everywhere. Or literally, I'm just going to wake up and this has all been a dream. Either way, it was all just pointing to like, get away from London. And I went as far as I could, and 2012 happened, and 2012 came, and 2012, you know, was in the process, and it came and went, and life, my sort of day-to-day life had carried on, and it was like this big like, okay, still here, this is still here, it still feels real, okay, I'm still within this game, all right, and then the signs showed me. Also, the signs showed me to come back to London. And it was like, right, everything you've learned, being on the other side of the world, disconnecting yourself from all this stuff. Now, your dharma is, you know, your duty is to come back to London and share that with people. So then we came back to London, and just kind of started a whole new cycle, really. And I remember getting back to London, like, and just being like, wow, this is a very, very strong. It was a humbling experience because I've kind of had the apocalyptic visions and thinking that this is all the system could get break down. And I remember just like standing in front of Big Ben one day in like 2013 and just seeing the grind, you know, the people, the work, and I was like, you know, this is, and I felt like how long it had been like churning. And now there's one lyric I wrote was that, so that was 2012 and the world kept turning. Big London, Big Ben kept chiming, Big Ben kept chiming, and Baba London kept churning. Stockpiling in the corner in the palace of overproduction, sovereign hypnosis and crown jewel seduction. I was like, wow, this is a very, very, very strongly established system that is going to take a bit more than a few hippies chanting some ohms to kind of break it. And I kind of like took a completely different U-turn, really, and I was like, oh, fuck, I need to, and also I'd kind of come with this very, very, very like super hippie. I was like I was on super hippie level, super light, super open-hearted, kind of trying to bring that to the urban environment, and it was like, yeah, this door is not opening with that, you know. I remember doing like yoga demonstrations on the street or something in London, and I remember some road guys just walked by us and they were like, what the fuck is that, man? I was like, oh shit, I need to work on my shit here, you know. So I was like, all right, I need to get tough, man. And literally the day, because I was teaching yoga in community centers, and that was kind of like, all right, I'll do my dharma, you know, I want to bring this. You know, because you see people, I could feel people really like suffering, you know, like in their urban suffering. Because I knew like this other possibility where I've lived in these communities in Brazil where people are like living off light, and there's breatharians, and it's like everyone's on this super like loving vibration. To come back to London and like, you know, being in all these like estates and stuff, and people are like they're suffering. It's like so fucking heavy. Like it was like, and I'm trying to bring them yoga, and I'm trying to bring yoga to like these grandmas and like heal them and stuff, you know. It was like, I had to like completely shift up my stuff. And then I had taught this one class, and at the end of it, this guy, kind of security guy there or something, he came up and he said, "Oh yeah, so what?" Sorry, Laurie's going by. But he's like, "Oh yeah, so yoga, yeah, I do martial arts." Like, yeah, you know, like, because it's like, try and like hit me or something. You know, do you know? Have you ever, you know, like that cliche, like that cringing cliche of a guy being like, "Right, if you try and hit me, yeah, this is what I would do to you." You know, so I'm like, okay, and then he'd be like, "Right, I'll get you around there," and like, I was like, I remember just being like so like hating the experience. Really did not like the experience. Like after it kind of happened, I was like, that really triggered me. Right, that probably means that I need to do some stuff. I need to work on this. Right, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna find a martial arts class. Because I hadn't done any martial arts or any weights or any of this kind of stuff for years. Yeah, since I'd had my like enlightenment and started yoga and vegetarianism. I've been on this completely other aspect of it. I was like, all right, okay, let me go and find some martial arts class or something. Yeah, I'll give it a go, you know. And then I was cycling, and like 10, 15 minutes later, after this thought, I'm cycling, and it starts pouring down with rain. I'm cycling up to London to do my next class, whatever. But I had some time. It starts pouring it down with rain, and then I see this church that I'd never noticed before, but I'd cycled past loads of times in Vauxhall. And I was like, oh yeah, right, okay, I'll go in this church just to take shelter. I'll just go and chill out in there for a little bit, do a little prayer, meditate for a bit, right? And I walk into this church, and I'm expecting a church, right? I'm expecting pews and seats and, you know, the normal church stuff. I walk in, it's a big open hall, and they've got dojo mats, and there's these 4 massive blokes just doing pads. It's all like the lights were off, like the storm outside, and he's going like hitting pads, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, whoa. And then I was like, hello, and the guy's like, yo. And I'm like, hi. Like, it's just a church. He's like, yeah, church, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And, oh no, your church upstairs. Here is hall. We're doing martial arts. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you want to watch? Come. And I'm like, okay. And I start watching, and they start rolling. And I'd done jiu-jitsu like for a month when I was a teenager or something. So I did know what it was. And I was like, wow. Like, it literally like 20 minutes after I'd like set this intention to find someone who would do martial arts, I'm here. And then the guy's like, you won't come? Like, and I had that kind of tracksuit on already. I was kind of ready for it. I just taught this class. He's like, yeah, come, man. I was like, all right, okay, I'll come. And then like, start rolling with this guy, yeah? And it's like, just the craziest experience, because he's a big, heavyweight guy. And he's just you know, he was like I was like a teddy bear, right? I was like, and I was like, okay. It was like, all right, amazing. And I'm chatting to the other guys, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really good, right? They're like, yeah, he's like 4-time world champion, black belt, jiu-jitsu heavyweight master. I'm like, okay. And he was from Brazil, as well. With my friend Leo Nagal. So I just come from Brazil, and man, it was just perfect. So anyway, I ended up diving into this. I ended up going like every week, and then I ended up liking it more and more and more, and I started going every day. So that was my kind of journey with the martial arts. Anyway, sorry, this is a really long answer to your question of how I got to Barbados, but at the same time, while I was like immersing myself in these new worlds, getting tough, like trying to bring this message of peace and love to the people, at the back of my mind, the plan was always like, get to Brazil and buy land, right? Because I knew my heart was always set on Brazil, because ayahuasca is legal in Brazil, and it's a respected thing, and there's no problem. Because I hate the fact that it's illegal in the UK, and there was the kind of scene in the UK. It was always this like hush thing, like, oh, there's a circle, there's a peace prayer tonight, you know, on the weekend, you know, there's like, oh, don't use the word, and like, because of the freaking, do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, that's how it is. Okay, whatever. But I want to go to a place where I can like shout my head off about it to the world and be like, hey, you want to come out? You want to do ayahuasca? Come here, you know? The heart was always set on Brazil. But man, it took me a long time. to manifest the energy, financial and spiritual, emotional, all at the same time to get out of the system. And it took until, I made a vision board in like 2015 of like 2020. I was like, all right, because I tried it in like 13, 14, 15. I was like, keep on trying to like smash the art world like instantly, and like make loads of money and then make enough money to go and buy land in Brazil. Apparently it wasn't that easy. Like it took quite a lot of spins of the wheel basically. But I remember 2015, I was like, right, 5-year plan. I'll give myself 5 years to keep, working out, building this thing, establishing this thing I'm working on, mixed spiritual arts, and my own training, my own awakening that I was doing within the martial arts world. So I was like, I was in a new university. I was in the University of I was in like the University of Brixton doing like martial arts, like my MA. It was like these kind of little jokes I had with the world. I was like, all right, cool. So because that's one guru, I've been kind of taken to this guru. And when I started, I was so shit. I was at the jiu-jitsu, I was super weak and I didn't have a clue what was going on. And I was rolling with these massive dudes who were just like smashing me the whole time. So I was like, the tension within myself was to get some like level of ability within there, like be able to hold my own within that space. And then this other one on this other side, like this gym called Flaxman's in Upper Junction, like freaking most prison gym, like crazy beast gym, yeah. Somehow I got taken there. One of the guys from the Leo's place is like, yeah, come here one day. So I ended up going there and then meet this other coach who I had a really strong connection with, even though we were like really far away in some aspects within like the Muay Thai, and he was teaching me Muay Thai. So I was going to them like every day, like to the Muay Thai, and then I would go to the Jiu-Jitsu. I was just completely smashed, and I was teaching the yoga as well. So I was doing all this action, and in hindsight, like the 2020 vision of hindsight is amazing, but being able to see like how ridiculous like this is, and at the same time trying to manifest getting out of the system whilst I was completely like intertwined with the system. But everything happened for a reason, and things kind of completed in the beautiful natural time, especially when my daughter was born. That was like a big shift. I kind of graduated, within myself from those places. I was like, it was a good 3 years. I was going like the whole time to those zones, to those gyms. And literally when she was born, it was like, right, new phase. And then I was all working at my dad's place, which he's got a community centre. And that was like my PhD. that was like the ultimate challenge, which is with the father, with my dad. Like me, I was also like dealing like face to face with stuff with my dad, which was really challenging in completely other ways, And that took like another 3 years, because that was like 2017, and I was kind of like made a clear line, and then I put all my energy into there, and then I hardly went to Brixton at all, because I was like that community centre. It was, my dad had been like running for 10 years. It was like, I could see all the ways in which I could help it. I wanted to help it, and then put all my classes there. And man, so basically, but at the same time, having this big vision board on my wall of like Avatar Land and the treehouse community and the dojos and the ceremonies and the retreats and and the way I wanted to live, So that was still like on my wall every day, seeing it. And then man, it got to 2020. Got to the end of 2019, and I was like, oh my God, how I've got to get this thing, and I've got to manifest it. 2020 was like the plan, was the vision, And life had just been smashing me, man. Like the grind of like living in London, like I've been living so long, like out of my authenticity. Like with the game plan of like being able to return to it like forever. Because I've been like, instead of like, saving up, instead of like doing what I've done before, which was like escape, spend all my money and then need to come back. I was like, never again. I want to be able to go and then not have to come back. So I was like, still still within the system. But man, I could feel it like dragging on me, man. Like as the years went by, like it was building up, and it got to end of 2019. I was like, oh man, I need to completely reset. I need to have a break. So I took a sabbatical. To all my students that I've been teaching at the time. I was like, right, I'm drawing a line. I'm going to go into my own self. I'm going into my own healing. I'm focused completely on the artwork. And I set myself these goals, these targets, and I manifested them. I manifested what I needed to get to Brazil and to go and find land, even though I didn't exactly know exactly what I was going for. It was more like I needed to go and connect with that place and see what the kind of opportunities were. And at the same time, had this connection with London with this potential investor who was like really aligned. We were aligned with a lot of stuff, and there was behind this project this idea of buying land, idea of building this place. And it was like, okay, finally, like it's happening. I've made this some money. I can afford to go. This guy's like lining up. And then it's like January 2020, and there's all this kind of like China. Hold on, what's going on? What are they saying about China? Like, China's got coronavirus. Oh, now it's starting to spread here. And I'm like booking my ticket to Brazil, and like they're like, oh no, it's coming. Now it's Italy. I'm like, I've got a flight. I'm booking the flight. They're like, are you sure you're gonna book this flight? I'm like, I'm booking the flight. I'm going. And it's like the day I booked the flight, they were like, Italy has shut down the borders. France has shut down. And I'm like, I am going to Brazil. But I managed to get myself there 5th of March. I travelled in London on the last day of the underground, like before, on the Thursday night at rush hour before the shutdown. I think it shut down on the Friday. It was like the last day of the underground. I managed to get Heathrow. I got there, and man, I found this absolutely amazing piece of land. It was like, ta-da, like perfect avatar land. And meanwhile, all around the world, like this just pandemic arriving, you know? So this thing of like having this dream of this land for 10 years, and I find it, the week I find it was like the week the world stopped. And I come back to London, I'm like, this guy, I'm like, we found it. And he's like, mate, now's not the time that we're going to be doing any like big international land buying investment. I'm sorry, my whole business is completely turned upside down right now. I don't know what to do, you know, I can't help you. And it was like, this fucking massive punch in the face, really. But it was meant to be, and it put me in a completely different state. And I kind of like managed to just release that dream of also being dependent on investors and stuff as well, because I was like, right, that fucked up, because I went there relying on an investor, relying on all this stuff. Right, not again, I've got to go back, I'm going to the art again, I've got to work out the art market, find my place and do it and manifest it and go back. And, you know, I went through the summer last year, and just towards the end of the summer, me and my wife were talking, we're like, right, what are we going to do this winter? All this lockdown stuff. And then she just came back. So we wanted to move out of our flat. It originally started because we wanted to move out of our flat. We were living in, we had someone above us and we had someone below us. And we had this little family below us. And we had my daughters, 3 and then 4 years old. And every time she jumped off the sofa and every time she's running around, it's like, boom. And I know they got a baby, they got 2 babies downstairs, and I'll be like, stop jumping. And I just began, where I was like going crazy basically, like we needed to get out of the flat. So we began looking at, I was looking at places in Birmingham because I just wanted a house where we could like make noise, where I wouldn't have to like be angry at my daughter for jumping, you know? So the first stage was like, we've got to move. Let's move out of London, let's find somewhere bigger. And then she came back, and her parents are from Barbados. I mean, that's the real link that we came to Barbados. Her parents were born here. They went to Birmingham, and she was born in Birmingham. But she came back from Birmingham one weekend and was just like, "What do you think about going to Barbados?" And I was like, "Yes, let's go to Barbados." She's like, "Let's go for 4 months. Like, let's sublet the house. Let's go for 4 months and see what happens." And we were like, we just started playing with the idea, and then and it's really, you know, we were looking on Airbnb for like things that we were paying the same rent for this flat in Crystal Palace in London. We started looking at stuff that we could similar stuff on Airbnb in Barbados, and it's like, oh my god, like look what we can get, what we're paying in London, look what we can get in Barbados. And as soon as we saw this place that we're in now, it was like bang, it's that big like soul shaking connection of like, oh my god, boom. We just worked it out, booked it, and then we booked the flights, and then we had to work out what to do with the house. I was trying to sublet the house for ages to all friends and family, whatever. No one could kind of came through for the house. So I was like, all right, we have to tell our landlady that we're going to move out. So we told her, and then we moved all the stuff, and I put all the stuff into storage, and then we came there. But it was the best thing that we didn't have a sublet, because we were thinking of like, oh, we'll come back in 4 months or whatever. But no, man, like it was a good, clear line. Like,
yeah,
all the stuff's in storage, and I do have to go back at some point to clear the stuff out of storage. So yeah, I do have a journey to London soon. But yeah, man, it's been 8 months since we've been here now, and everything that's on the list, coming to Barbados, was realised like what I had thought consciously was going to be in Brazil is here. Like it's here, and it's like there's a phrase like God laughs at man's plans or something like that. Like I'd had this plan of like Brazil, like in my mind it was Brazil, and as soon as I got here and like began to like move around and really feel like, oh, this is actually what I'd always been looking for in Brazil. Every time I'd had it in my mind, I could see it in my mind, and I've been like searching around Brazil, the different areas, the coast, the inland, the hills, the desert, like, and it was always like this that I've been searching for. But coming to Barbados, it's like a miniature Brazil. It's like, because you've got all this coastline, you got like the kind of coast, which is like the coast of Brazil, but then you've got like the forest, you've got parts that look like the Amazon, you've got parts that look like Africa, you've got parts that look like England, and some parts that look like Devon. Like it's just this amazing, an amazing island, and all the opportunities as well. Like everything that I wanted to set up within a community is like already like system and infrastructure that's here. Like, so like, for example, like the land that we found, man, it's like 5 hours from anywhere. Like the bit of land that I found and was like the perfect bit of land, is hours and hours away from anywhere. So in terms of like a apocalyptic escape place, amazing, but practically like really challenging. Like unless like for people who are ready to go completely off grid and live like 0G, it kind of works. But I have to accept as well that I am, not completely there yet, and this Barbados it's this amazing place where you can I can go to the gully and there's nothing human. It's like you could be a million years ago. and there's big countryside bits where there's valleys and hills and mountain areas that are like untouched nature. But at the same time, if I get in a car, within half an hour I can be in the center of the town. I can be in the middle of a massive hardware shop with all the stuff and building facilities and stuff. And there's just so many different like areas and zones that they're only ever going to be. Barbados is smaller than, it's the same size as Birmingham. It's like way smaller than London. Oh, wow. The longest drive is like 50 minutes from like the bottom, from the south to the top. You just get in the car, do the highway. It's like 50 minutes. Like the coast to coast is like 40 minutes from side to side. So everywhere is close. Like, and it's massive part of my life now. I'm very grateful. So that, mate, is my super crazy long ranting answer about how I ended up in Barbados.
Mate, what a journey, and like how much synchronicity, and like how all of those steps led you to where you are right now, right? And it's so funny, like how I always do that as well. Like I have this vision and I have this like, this is where it's going to be, and it like one thing I've learned is it's just the feeling that we're going after for anyway, right? It's like what we actually want to feel like when we get there. And it sounds like you've manifested that in Barbados.
Yes, the feeling,
right?
Yeah.
Mate, I'm gutted because I want to go on and ask you more questions, but I have to bounce in a minute. I want to ask you one more question. And we're going to project to your last day here on planet Earth. You've mixed spiritual arts, has reached the heights you've wanted to. You've got your beautiful family, all of your friends, all of your, everybody who you've been able to help on their journeys. You've achieved all of that, and it's your last day. You can't leave behind anything material that you've created. However, you can leave behind one piece of wisdom to the people you love and the people you care about. What would you leave them?
Wow, man, that's a good question. Whoosh. Yeah. Don't worry, be happy, do your best. That's what I try and come back to, man.
I love that. That's a beautiful place to wrap up. Felix, where's the best place for people to find you if they want to connect with you?
So if you're not in Barbados, I'm in the Level Up gym in the whole town in the morning. Go down to the Pori Spring with the guys there, collect the water, chill out. I go down to the East Coast, to the wild Atlantic, go to the West Coast for the chilled out Caribbean Sea. Go to the north to the Animal Flower Cave. Go to the gully here for the Avatar Land. But online, for the online world, mate, I got the Instagram. I got felixprice.umsa, UAMSA. I got a Felix Price Art Instagram. That's just like my online gallery, just showcase just the artwork. I got a website, felixpriceart.com. And I got a podcast as well on Spotify, Felix Price Podcast. Yeah, so I share some are talking, some are ones where I'm talking. Some are I've done a lot of recently ones that I jamming. Like I just jam and freestyle, get my guitar, so they're like musical ones. Let it flow. Do like new moon, full moon freestyles. Sing some songs that I've learned, some ones that I just make up on the spot. Yeah, man. So that's it. Podcast or Instagram, the best places. Yeah.
Beautiful, and I'll link them. I'll make sure they get linked below as well, so people can find those easily. My man, I'm sure this won't be the last time, but thank you for sharing your energy with me today, bro. It's been a genuine honor and pleasure.
Of course, man. Likewise. Thank you very much, man. Thanks for the invitation. And shout out to friend Libby, right? She's on the 21. I've got the 21-day challenge, and we're gonna run it again in August. I'm gonna run it one more time in August. So it's the challenge is 21 minutes of mixed spiritual arts for 21 days in a row. It's a time-lapse challenge. So you have to film yourself on time-lapse and share that into the group. Otherwise, I remove you from the group. So it's a really nice way of keeping the group energy very, very focused, because everybody in the group now has done it every single day. And anybody who missed, they're going to try again in August, lots of them. But it's, so that's cool. So, I mean, I hope maybe if you want to join that again, but it's, 21 minutes, breath work, movement, meditation.
I'll be there myself, and I can attest it is a very powerful and uplifting way, at least for myself, to start the day. I'm sure you can use it in many different parts of your day. I personally love to use it to start the day, to just really get that energy lift, connect to my soul, do some amazing breathing, do some movement, move the energy through the body. I'm sure everyone else has their different experiences as well. But yeah, definitely recommend that to anyone listening to
a nice period of time. A nice period of time we're working out 21 minutes. It's not too much, so it's quite easy to it is possible to fit into a morning routine or an evening routine without being too long, but it's not too little. So, it's enough time to like really go in and like have like a cleanse, have an uplifting feeling, and actually leave you energized. You don't feel drained at all. It's not long enough to kind of drain too much. It's a really interesting amount of time. It's been a really interesting process myself sharing it. I'm discovering about the power of these 20-minute sections as well. But yeah, I hope to see you there. And thank you.
100%. Peace.
Peace, bro.